Well, in one press release this weekend, the Indian fire near Mono Lake was called a sleeping giant. As of this morning, the fire had burned 13,500 acres and was 70% contained. Our pictures are courtesy of Catherine Watson. Now, according to a press release from the Southern California Incident Management Team 3 Commander Mike Wakoski of the Forest Service, the Indian fire started last Wednesday, August 8th at approximately 2:06 p.m. caused by lightning. Now, the fire is southeast of Mono Lake and north of Highway 120. Press release states that firefighters, both on the ground and in the air, are aggressively fighting the fire with 551 people committed to that effort as of this morning. Although cooler weather and light precipitation on parts of the fire help slow the progress of the fire, fuels remain very dry. Over the next several days, firefighters will continue to build and improve containment lines as well as mop up any hot spots. Now, as the firefighting effort lessens, crews will refocus on the restoration of impacts caused by the fire suppression. Local biologists and botanists from the BLM are working directly with firefighters on rehabilitating the landscape. The public is also an important partner in healing the land by treading lightly in the burn area, according to that press release. Now, Southern California Interagency Management Team 3 assumed command of the fire effective 6 p.m. last Friday. The management of the fire is under unified command between the Bureau of Land Management and U.S. Forest Service. And the incident commander would like to thank the community of Lee Vining and the adjacent areas for their support and hospitality to Team 3 and all the firefighters. The press release states that they appreciate everybody's patience and understanding during this incident. Well, here's a story on fire fees. Inyo County opposes it. You can appeal it, but the state of California will bill you soon to help cover state fire costs. It's called State Responsibility Area Fire Prevention Benefit Fee. It's roughly $150 per habitable structure. And there is more. Here is Inyo County's official press release. Quote, "The State Responsibility Area SRA Fire Prevention Benefit Fee was enacted by the state of California July 7, 2011, and that was via Assembly Bill X 129. Now, Inyo County has a strong and ongoing opposition to these fees, according to the press release. The annual fee, again, which is $150 per habitable structure, meaning a building that can be occupied for residential use. Now, that is being assessed by the state of California as a way to pay for fire prevention services within SRAs, which are typically rural areas where the state of California is financially responsible for the prevention and suppression of wildfires. Habitable structures that are located within both an SRA and a local fire district are allowed a $35 reduction in the annual $150 fee. Now, the entity responsible for paying the annual fee is the entity identified as the owner of record on July 1st of each year. The State Board of Equalization expects bills, which for the fiscal year 2011-2012, to be sent out over a period of about 4 months starting this month. Payment of the fee is due within 30 days. Now, there is a process for appeal of the fee known as a petition for redetermination, which will be detailed and mailed with the bills. Now, the press release states that appeals are processed through the Department of Forestry and Fire Protection, and it should be noted that appeals must be filed with the Department of Forestry and Fire Protection within 30 days of receiving a bill, with a decision on the appeal made by the department within 60 days of receipt of that appeal. Now, additional information on the SRA fire prevention fee, including a sample bill, a series of frequently asked questions, can be found, as well as county SRA maps. That can be found on the Inyo County Planning Department's website, which is inyoplanning.org. You go under current projects, or also via a link on the county's main webpage, and that is inyocounty.us. Well, Bennett Kessler filed the following 2 reports. In recent days, one of Sierra Wave Media's commenters took a photo of what he described as about 15 dead and deformed fish. Now, the fish were abnormally swollen with tumor-like lumps. He was unable to get any response from the Fish and Game. Now, Sierra Wave Media does have some information. Andrew Hughan, Public Information Officer for Fish and Game in Sacramento, looked into the report of the bad fish. Sierra Wave also sent him the photo that was forwarded to us. Now, Hughan said, quote, "These fish are not representative of what we hope the public identifies as a DFG planted fish. There are always deformities present in nature and in raised fish, especially in the bottom ponds of the raceways where weaker fish tend to congregate. Unfortunately, Gull Lake was the recipient of such a group of fish," end quote. Now, Hughan said that these deformities sometimes are due to diseases such as cold water disease, which the fish survives at an early stage, but is left with physical abnormalities the remainder of its life. He said, quote, "Often these instances are due to genetic anomalies. The department," Hughan said, "is seeing more of these abnormalities than in the recent past due to the conversion to triploid fish. When you subject the eggs to the pressures of captive rearing and the triploid process to obtain sterility, then you are, in a very small number of cases, affecting the physical attributes of the trout," end quote. Well, in a related issue, Senate Bill 1148, now under debate as impacting hatchery funds, apparently proposes the stocking of triploid or sterile fish wherever possible, and that's according to Caltrout. Now, that group says sterile fish grow faster and provide the kind of angling experience sought by the majority of anglers. Well, the Gull Lake anglers may disagree. Now, DFG's Hughan maintains that deformities seen at Gull Lake are rare. He said, quote, "The Department of Fish and Game spawns, raises, and releases millions of trout to stock California's lakes, rivers, and streams every year, and these deformities are extremely small percentage, less than 1% of the fish produced," end quote. Well, California Senate Bill 1148 points to how trout hatcheries and fish plants are funded, and opposition to that bill grows, including Inyo and Mono supervisors and Mono County former state senator Dave Cogdill. Now, in a committee hearing last week, legislators placed the bill on hold. The organization supporting the bill, Caltrout, maintains the new law will not hurt hatcheries. Now, that bill went before the Assembly Appropriations Committee last Wednesday, and Dave Cogdill said it came up late and not all the members were still there. He said there was considerable opposition to the bill, and legislatures placed it in the suspension file. Cogdill says that when the legislature reconvenes this week, they will decide which bills to move on to the Assembly floor. He said if SB 1148 remains in suspension, that will effectively kill it this year. Now, Cogdill was the author of Assembly Bill 7, which speaks to the protection of hatchery and trout funding. Earlier, he said that the group Caltrout, which partnered with him on AB 7, have, quote, "snubbed the partnership," end quote, and is attempting to rewrite the code with the new bill. Now, Cogdill says he is working with Caltrout to resolve issues in SB 1148. He said the group has told him they want the same things he wants. He says he's not sure. Caltrout Conservation Director Curtis Knight issued a statement that says SB 1148 will not change the way the Hatcheries and Inland Fisheries Fund receives revenue. He said SB 1148 empowers, quote, "Fish and Game to explore creative ways to meet currently unmet protection goals," end quote. Knight said that the new bill would return the earlier plan to hire 7 heritage and wild trout positions. Knight further claims that the stocking of hatchery fish in put-and-take fisheries will be improved by SB 1148. The Caltrout spokesman said the new bill would offer more protection for native trout. You can read the entire Caltrout statement on our website, sierrawave.net. Now, Dave Cogdill continues to talk with Caltrout, but he says there is another issue that may sink SB 1148. It's a provision that allows outside parties to file lawsuits in regard to negligent takes and destruction of wildlife protected by state law. We'll be back with more news.